Good morning, and I have my very good friend, Dr. Andy Johnson here, and he's going to be talking to us about a number of things. His books, two of his books, some of the pre-professional development, some of the things that ILEC are all about. But before I dive into any of that, I'm going to say good morning, Andy, and thank you for being on this. And tell us a little, very quickly, if you give all your credentials, we'll be here till noon. So you can't give all your credentials, but would you give us a quick overview of you as a professor, and then then we'll dive into your books. So it's all you.
Here with the incredible Dr. Sam, an old bald literacy professor. And I've been doing this for 28 years. No, I've been teaching for 40 years. Oh my gosh. And I am one of the founding members of ILEC, International Literacy Educators Coalition. And I have podcasts, and I like to pester people to get things done, but that's essentially me.
Okay, so let's dive into each of your books one at a time. Uh, I will, I'm changing the screen view here very briefly so that I know, marking this for my tape. And now we're back to you, and take it away on your two books.
Well, designing meaning-based interventions, the traditional school of thought by many of the skills-based is that struggling readers struggle because they don't have enough phonics knowledge. And all you need to do to fix all the reading problems in the world is just give them more phonics. So struggling readers are struggling with phonics, so you give them more phonics so they can struggle even to a greater degree. This looks at RTI, the meaning-based interventions for reading. That says there are better interventions, effective interventions that go beyond simply providing more phonics. And by the way, that's what the National Reading Panel says. You know, it says if you actually read the National Reading Panel report, that phonics for struggling readers is not very effective after first grade. It doesn't mean we ignore phonics, but you have to include other things like writing, like maze, like clothes, other types of things. And struggling readers are not all the same. 3 deficit areas: fluency, word identification, and comprehension. Some struggle with 1, some struggle with 2, some struggle with all 3. So you have to diagnose the difficulty first, and then you have to design the intervention based on the deficit. There's certain things you do for fluency. There's other things you do for word recognition and word identification, which are not the same. And there's other things that you do for comprehension. So this book, Designing Meaning-Based Interventions, gives you strategies for doing all 3 of these. And it's in the context of RTI. And RTI is a good thing. It's a good design. One of my fears, and this is a little tangent, Sam, but RTI is being overtaken by MTSS. And I don't like that, because MTSS, multi-tiered, forget what the SS stands for, but it has a behavioral component. And RTI is a good design. It's flexible. It can be implemented. It has the 3 tiers, and it focuses on reading, writing, and math. But this book, Meaning-Based Interventions, it's just good reading instruction.
Okay, my audience is are mainly teachers. So and if we were to dive into, and I'm going to put you on the spot here, if we were to dive into your book, and you know that I'm really interested in comprehension. That tends to be the thing that gets lost and forgotten. Uh, eh, um, do you have a particular, this is just to give us one little sample. Do you have a good sample of what a tier 1, that would be the classroom teacher trying to design a meaning-based intervention for their class? What would be one thing that they, or one strategy that they could consider?
Excellent. So whether it's an intervention or instruction, an intervention is simply based on good classroom instruction, you have to differentiate between narrative text and expository text. The purpose is different. You read narrative text to enjoy, you read expository text to understand. And with informational books, expository text, you use study skill strategies, things you consciously employ. With stories, you develop the cognitive processes. Cognitive processes related to comprehension include prediction, inferences, supportive statement. So you simply design pre, post, during, and post reading activities to utilize those cognitive processes. For example, prediction. You introduce a prediction. We're going to read this story to find out what happens when. And we need to look for clues. So right now you introduce that as a pre-reading strategy. They're reading with purposeful intent, so they're looking for clues as they read. In the classroom, I would do this a lot in whole class, then move to small group, and then they can do that individually. And by the way, comprehension worksheets do absolutely nothing to help students comprehend. Comprehending is thinking. To improve comprehension, you improve thinking by teaching these cognitive processes specifically.
Okay, I'm going to put my 2 cents worth in here, and that is, for me, where many go off the tracks is that they teach the kids to name the strategy, or they talk about the strategy, or they assign them to use the strategy, where for me, the key is getting them to internalize the strategy and knowing that they have. And one of the tricks I use is every so often get them together and have them talk about what strategies they've used in the last couple of weeks. And again, the NRP says to use multiple, that it's works well to go at multiple strategies at once and using them. So that whole business of your post test, part of your post test, and I get real sticky about that with the teachers that I'm in servicing, you really need to make sure that the kids have internalized the strategy, and you have to have an assessment that will show you that they did. I don't have comments on that.
You teach the process to develop the skill. It's kind of what you said. Thinking starts on the social plane and you internalize it, as Vygotsky said. So if you want, and by the way, I separate expository text from information text. Expository text is a study skill strategy. Something as simple as read a paragraph, pause, and either resume or return. It's that metacognitive strategy, and you're teaching it specifically. Something as simple as read and dot. Put a dot in the margins. You know, we have these strategies like SQ3R and that are too cumbersome to actually be used. So I encourage teachers to teach. There's about 7 basic study skill strategies, how to read a textbook. And you put the posters on the wall with the steps, and you tell children, you choose the one that works best for you. And by the way, students enter, you can never assume that students at any age know how to read a textbook. And starting in 4th grade, that should be included in instruction. Even in my undergraduate class, I have to say boys and girls, or I have to say students, this is how you read a textbook. No one reads it from beginning to end and comprehends. We all need some strategy. And I show them how I put marks in the margin, and then I go on highlight, and then I take notes. Professors are not geniuses. We've just learned to use the way our brain works to help us understand what we read. And we must teach these strategies specifically. It's no big mystery, people.
Okay, I'm going to change the view here for a second. and move on to the other book. But before I do, uh, I really think a lot of my teachers are going to be very interested to go in. And what I love, music to my ears, uh, all this. I am one of those people that when I go to a professional development, I want to have something I can use on Monday when I go back to the class. And I'm sensing very much that there's a whole book full of those in your designing meaning-based interventions. So thank you for that. Okay, let's dive into the other one now.
Well, I write with my audience in mind, and anyone can make a complex thing seem complex. Good academic writers are like good first grade teachers. They make complex things seem simple. And it's very hard to do that. A primary teacher, a first grade, kindergarten, these are the hardest grades to teach because you have to make the world comprehensible, consumable to a young child. The book, Being and Becoming Teachers of Writers, it started because I was teaching a writing methods course, and there was not a book out there that I could use that helped people understand, but provided strategies for the 5-step process. You cannot expect children to learn to write if we don't teach them the process of how to write. And Donald Graves started this back in 1983, but it's like people have forgotten about this. And you look at the Common Core state standards related to writing, and it's like they're written by some kook. They have nothing to do with how to write. And what's interesting is, as I was writing this book about writing, I was also teaching a graduate course on writing, teaching students how to use scholarly writing to complete their thesis. And I realized that writing teachers need to write as well, because I could say to my students, oh, I was drafting during my draft, during my revising, during my editing. So I'm able to share the processes, and I'm able to remember and understand the processes. So this book has strategies for each of the 5 steps: pre-writing, drafting, revise, the heart, editing, and then share/publish. The best way to provide students with a sense of audience is to give them one. That writing must be shared with others so that people can see the response to their words. Every human being can write the first day of kindergarten. They may use more pictures than letters, but they can use symbols to create meaning, to tell a story. Alexa, off. I set my alarm so I wouldn't forget this.
Here's your
Alexa, off.
Yeah, we got started a little early. That's all right. Go for it now. Keep on.
That's right. Every kid can write. The problem is they can't write very well because they haven't been taught the process. How do you brainstorm? How do you draft? How do you revise? How do you edit? And I go through each one of these and give strategies. By the way, the Common Core state standards only have 3 types of writing. They have persuasive writing, they have expository writing, and they have, oh gosh, Sam, I'm getting old.
Me too.
And they have persuasive writing, narrative writing, and expository writing. And there are 3 short. I include scientific writing, how you write in the sciences, the language art, using language to create art, and personal communication, using email, oral communication, listening skills. These are all should all be part of, I call it a writing curriculum, but they're really literacy curriculum. So I get kind of excited about this. This one, Being and Becoming Teachers of Writing, just came out last week. So I'm excited to start talking about that.
Okay. And I'm thinking that we'll make sure there are links to both books. And I know that my audience, my teachers, are all especially interested in, you can talk and talk and talk, but they're especially interested in the kind of strategies that work with real kids. And before we get off this book, one other question. Will my teachers of the youngest children find something for themselves? And will my teachers, and I have especially a group at Right to Learn that tend to be secondary or middle school teachers. Will there be something for each of those two groups, the teachers of younger and the teachers of the older kids?
Yes, and on Monday, May 13th, we're doing a free webinar, How to Teach Writing K-8 and Beyond. And these are free webinars, and you can get CEU certificates if you want. Minnesota State University will provide that. As I was teaching my graduate class, the same processes are used whether you're teaching kindergarten or graduate students. So yes, the same process is used in kindergarten, middle school, secondary.
Okay, and you gave me the perfect segue into the next thing, which I know now, and this is very exciting, that the ILEC is now providing free, boy, that's a perfect price, free professional development that includes getting clock hours from from your university at free
Yep.
and a certificate free. So tell us about some of the upcoming ones, and I'll make sure that there'll be a little calendar in the blog itself that will give people links to these. And I'll say it one more time, free professional development by some really outstanding educators. So it's all you again.
It's really incredible. The International Literacy Educators Coalition, we're not here to make money. Why should people be making money off the backs of our struggling readers, off the backs of our taxpayers? We're here to actually help the world become a better place. Free, May 13th, as I said, How to Teach Writing, the Processes. Coming on June 25th, a webinar by some heavy hitters in the I movement, Peter Duckett, Alan Flurkey, Kumi Kim, Kirpi Liwang. Free, June 25th. In July, we're doing, instead of a book club, we're doing a research club where we'll take a piece of research. We're doing 2 of those sessions in July, and people are invited to come, and we'll have a guided discussion through that singular piece of research. And in August, Dr. Sam is going to put together with me a webinar on fluency, reading fluency. And again, that is free and open to anyone who wants to come. And we do provide, Minnesota State University provides professional development block hours. And I think that is the upcoming events that I have on our calendar.
I'll make sure that there is a calendar within the written part of this blog where people can access each of those. One of them's under construction, so there won't be a link to that one yet. Okay, final thing. Okay, we are both with the ILEC, and I just want you to let people know there's no membership charge. We're an advocacy group. Just give us a brief overview of what that's all about, and how. And I know there's a link where you join a listserv, and that's all it takes. So tell us about what the organization is and what it's up to these days.
We formed people around the world because we were concerned about the science of reading mandates that were being imposed on teachers that really weren't research-based. So it is an international organization. There's people from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Mexico, China, India involved in this. Really good people, eminent people. And if you want to be part of our organization, it's a way to link up with others who have a passion and who have a shared interest. And in the year since our organization has begun, I've made friends all over the world, and some of these are some pretty eminent people. At our meetings, we won't share your names and any of that stuff because sadly, some people feel their job could be in jeopardy if they say things or are linked with certain groups. But we come together just for conversation at least once a month, usually twice, and it's just very open-ended. And out of these conversations, things bubble forth. The whole idea of the webinar on eye movement came forth from these conversations. Another one, the one about having a research club instead of a book club, that came forth from some of our conversations. So I would encourage you to become a part of this. You'll get access, well, anyone has access to a lot of free resources as far as written material and webinars and upcoming events.
Okay, and to clarify, this group, in terms of who belongs, this group has classroom teachers and all, but well, I'll let you just say that. Who belongs? Who is? And I know everyone's welcome, but who belongs? What's our?
Glad you asked. Yeah, classroom teachers are the base of our organization. We learn so much from classroom teachers. Us professors, we have a view, a scholarly view, but no view is complete in and of itself. That's why it's essential that we have classroom teachers. But there are professors, scholars, researchers, parents, and classroom teachers, reading specialists, all belonging to this group.
Okay. Well, before I say let's wrap things up, I'll give you one last shot at anything you wanted to talk about that we haven't. It's all you, if there is, and if there's not, we'll move on to saying goodbye.
Good reading instruction. Good reading instruction has, good reading instruction is good instruction for all. There is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all program. There's no magic program. There are only magic teachers who have toolboxes full of research-based strategies. That's what I try to do in my book, is provide research-based strategies that you can take and use in your classroom. And you know your students, so you know how they should be adopted and adapted to meet the needs of your students. Everything you do should be adopted and adapted to meet the needs of the students in front of you.
Boy, that is a perfect way to say things, and a great ending to this conversation. Now, you're well aware that there is a Bomarito tradition that at the very end, we put on great big smiles and we do a Zoom wave goodbye. So let's do that. Great big smile and a Zoom wave goodbye. Goodbye.